Hello guys, it's Sendou here. Today I just wanted to make this video. As you can see, it's titled "The Case for Therefore," and here I would like to talk about some of the arguments regarding excluding Therefore that were around for Splatoon 1, as well as introducing some arguments of my own for why we should maybe at least consider adding Therefore to competitive tournaments. And yeah, I know this is a topic that some people really don't like being talked about, but I'd at least like you guys to hear me out before deciding. And yeah, as I said, Splatoon 1 therefore wasn't really played in any tournaments, and that was pretty much like there simply were no tournaments with therefore. Okay, we had the very first one in Kosing, and indeed for that one we did have therefore for some rounds, and I think that's probably where the hate for therefore comes from. Because there's still was a really big tournament, many people got their first experience competitive in that, so that's definitely a factor. And yeah, recently we had the needed official tournaments where people were forced to play therefore in a sense, and that was a couple tournaments. So indeed there are some common arguments about excluding the therefore from the game, or like from competitive tournaments, as well as some arguments for including it. But I feel like the arguments about including it haven't really gotten that much limelight. So with this video I'd like to at least let people know what I think about the topic, or like give some ideas about why it might be a good idea. So a very typical argument against therefore is that only the last 30 seconds count, it doesn't matter what happens, you get wiped at the end and you lose. And this is pretty funny to me because actually similar arguments were used against Rainmaker. Like if you guys don't know, when this game first started playing competitively, there were some people who thought it would be a good idea to ban Rainmaker, and the argument was basically this. At the start, if you get wiped, the game can end really fast. Like that was the gist of it, and well, I mean that's just another way of saying the first seconds have too much weight, and the argument in therefore is that the last 30 seconds have too much weight. So it's like the reverse argument is kind of interesting in my opinion. But in reality, what happens in therefore is that every time you play, I mean every minute you play, is setting for the final push, or just like setting up the game. So yes, the last 30 seconds do matter a lot, and you really want to save your specials and set up a good team push at the last 30 seconds, but at the same time it's also not true that nothing before that matters. Like it's the same in every mode. You have moments in the game that maybe not so much is happening and you're just like holding off, but then there's the one really big push you make, which ends up winning you the games. And another argument I've seen people use is that you don't really see too many therefore scrims. Like people don't ask for therefore scrims, and that's pretty like curious. Why is that the case? Well, it's pretty simple. Scrims are practice, and if you look at tournaments don't have therefore, so why would you practice therefore? And it's just, to me, that this argument doesn't make too much sense, because it's not like people would practice for something that's not played. And in the end, TOs have to start including therefore before people start practicing it. It's not the other way around. And I'd like to introduce some arguments now for like why I think it might not be such a bad idea to, you know, have some therefore in tournaments maybe. And the biggest one for me personally is simply to prepare for tournaments with therefore, because yes, majority of the Western tournaments don't have therefore in them. I mean, that's just how it is. But especially when you go to Japan and they do multi-mode tournaments, it's all 4 modes versus all 3 modes in Western. Yes, their preferred style and the one they scream the most is Splat Zones only, at least that was the case for Splatoon 1. But for mode tournaments, it's pretty common to include therefore. And this was something that was really hard for Anesthesia and Chimera when we played Japanese tournaments, is that we came across a therefore match and we had no idea what to do. We just got destroyed and it was always like, well, there's turf war, so we probably lose this one. And the other one is of course in the official tournaments. Because these are tournaments with good prizes. People do want to play them. So why not practice them? Like, that's the only way you can get better at them, and that's the only way you can increase the likelihood that you can win those games. And if you look at the latest online tournament, you see Deadbeat, who ended up going to E3 and winning E3. They almost lost at the round in the bracket. Or like, that was the only time they dropped games, I think. It was 2-1 against Tank Blues, and then they ended up sweeping every other mode. So clearly there's like some, even like really good players don't really have a game plan for turf war. So it's kind of they letting the coin decide if they get through the turf war rounds, and to me it would make much more sense to just practice. If those tournaments are gonna include them, then why not practice it, you know? And even beyond that, I think turf war definitely teaches you how to hold and gain map control. So this is a skill that's very vital to Splatoon. And well, if you don't know the skill, then you simply can't win that all that much. I mean, yes, every mode is objective based, but at the same time, how much you can do objective is fairly based on how much of the map you control. And you gotta know, like, how do I push with specials, how do I like defend special pushes, and so on and so on. And I think in turf war this is the most prevalent. And I think also traditionally has been a problem with Western teams. So you don't see so much map controlling weapons, or you just don't see teams playing together so well to defend in control, or get coordinate pushes to gain in control. Another argument is just simply more map variety, you know, because if you have 3 modes, then you got turf war. That's 3 more modes suddenly. I mean 3 more maps basically. And yeah, it's just more variety. I mean, that's not a bad thing, is it? Another thing for tournaments, turf war is always 3 minutes. No matter what, no matter the skill difference, no matter how even the game, it's always 3 minutes. Other modes, it can be 30 seconds, it can be 6 minutes. So you know, when you have a schedule you have to keep up, then well, turf war is the only one who's always the same amount. So it decreases the variance of the times in sets being played out. And in general, like, you look at turf war, it's less about 1v1 and killing people. Like, honestly, that's at least the way I see it. And I think that would maybe allow some other weapons to be viable that just aren't viable at the moment. Or like just more weapons that people can play and choose and do well with it, you know. Because some weapons, they have a decent kit, they have good turfing, but they just aren't strong enough to hold their own in 1v1. So I think these weapons could find their niche in turf war if we decide to include it. And I do honestly think, like, when I look at this from a competitive player perspective, I think turf war does have its own unique straight appeal. Like just one example given would be that, okay, when do we in-car spawn? Like, some maps have huge spawns, like no one even ever goes there in normal games. So what is like the best moment to have basically your team do in 3v4 and have one guy ink the spawn? Like, that's one example. Or like, how can we save the specials the best way to initiate the final push, and so on. Like, there's so many different things, and it's a different mode. It would need different kind of thinking from the competitive players. I think it would be really fun thing to do, at least for some tournaments. And I honestly do think that therefore would be a good way to bridge casual and competitive communities, because no matter what, turf war is the most iconic Splatoon mode. Like, that's it. And Nintendo knows this, and everyone should know it. And it's like instantly recognizable and has the easiest winning conditions to understand. What I mean is that when you press X, you see the map, well, who has most color wins. Like, that's so easy to understand. No, everyone understands this. So it's like, I think it's really good if you have like someone watching Splatoon for the first time or Splatoon competitive for the first time. They have something familiar to like know, and that's easy to understand. And I think it's really important that we have something like that. And I think when people see Turf 4 playing competitively, they're like, hey, this is what I did. They just do it better basically, and they get interested in competitive. This is like at least one scenario I could see happening. So another argument against Turf 4 was that in Splatoon 1 you couldn't have squads, you couldn't play with your friends, you know, there was no way to practice it. Like, this is something I see. But hey, look at Splatoon 2, what happens? We all played Splatfest, or at least I would argue that many people listening to this video now, right now played Splatfest, and you get squared up with your friends. Okay, so definitely there is question still, can you play squads with outside of Splatfest and whatnot, but it's still like they're increasing the chances for you to play Turf 4 even outside of private battles, so I don't think it would be such a bad idea to. Or rather, if you look at how the possibilities in the game are increasing regarding playing Turf 4 with your friends or with your team, it's definitely like more chances to practice it. And yeah, also there's the they call it the power level or whatever, which is like basically matchmaking rating, which again is trying to beat good people against good people and so on. So I do think Nintendo does see the competitive potential in Turf 4 as well. I mean, they do include it in the tournament, so it would be pretty funny to me if they somehow think it's casual and at the same time basically it's the mode that's appeared most in Nintendo tournaments. So I don't really think the argument that Nintendo themselves see Turf 4 as casual is very, very solid. And yeah, I also seen some people say Turf 4 is just plain boring to watch, you know, nothing happens, people just think they're fun. What's the interest in this? But you know, I don't like this attitude, because you go watch Koshi and you tell me that's not exciting, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, maybe Splatoon is not a thing for you. It's always interesting to watch evenly matched teams who know what they're doing. Okay, that's the important part, who know what they're doing, because nobody's gonna want to watch like, oh, it's Turf 4, let's go Aerospray, Ink Brush, like whatever, that's something to think. Like, people have no idea how to play the mode, so who's gonna want to watch that? Nobody. That's just not a thing. So when people get to know the mode better, it's gonna be more exciting when people actually have a good knowledge and have good strats and whatnot. So you can't really like look at the past tournaments and say Turf 4 is boring to watch because people don't know what they're doing. Like, that's really the harsh truth. I don't know what I'm doing in Turf 4, I know the players don't know, and it's just, it's natural. You don't play Turf 4, and why would you know what you're doing? And okay, so about this video, I'm not saying there's no legitimate arguments against not including Turf 4. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that people conveniently forget good things about Turf 4, or things that we might benefit from. And just merely, I wish people would talk more, you know, like discussion about these things, and never just say like, this issue is final, this issue doesn't need any discussion. You should always be discussing these ideas and sharing ideas and trying to come up with new solutions and whatnot. And in general, people have been really, in a sense, proud, or how do you want to say it, about Turf 4. I mean, Splatoon competitive not having any banned modes or banned maps. And you know, I look at Turf 4, I'm like, what is that then? And people often then say, well, it's just Turf 4, but that's not how it should be. It's still like, we have banned Turf 4 from competitive community. Even if everyone agrees with it, it's still a ban. Like, that's what it is. So to me, either we should be including everything, or we should be having more discussion about what maps are maybe so good to playing competitively. Because Splatoon 1, there were definitely some maps that had no place playing competitively, like Rig, or like any sort of issues that were present with various of the map combinations, and people don't really talk about whether we should be playing them at all. They just don't, because they assume we don't ban anything, but we do, and it's Turf 4. So if we do decide that, okay, Turf 4 is not competitive, let's not play it, then fair enough. But then next I want to have the discussion about different Splat Zones maps and different tower control maps and different Rainmaker maps, because not all of them are gonna be good, not all of them are gonna be equally good competitively. So I just wish maybe, like, you know, if some Theo like hears this and like, yeah, Turf 4 is not so bad, just try a 4 mode tournament. It's not gonna be the end of the world. I saw some people do like Turf War only tournaments, but that's not the way to go about it, in my opinion. And I think little by little, when people get to know the mode better, they could have more informed decisions about whether to include it or not. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, I'm sorry if the video wasn't so easy to follow, or if there's some other problems with my speech. I'm still very much new to doing these videos. I'm doing this in one cut. So if there's some inclarity or whatever, just go to the comments and ask, or whatever. Just go to the comments and just say what you think about Turf War in general. Like, would you like to include it, and why? Would you like to exclude it, and why? Like, I just want to have a discussion about this matter. And anyway, I'm very excited for Splatoon 2 competitively, of course, and yeah, that's about it. I wish good luck to all the TOs deciding to hold tournaments for Splatoon 2. That's the one thing that keeps the community going, so definitely huge shoutouts to all the people who have plans regarding to that. I'll be uploading a lot of Splatoon 2 videos, so if you are interested in this kind of content, or the kind of competitive focused content, I'd say, then just remember to subscribe and so on. Alright, see you next time.